What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's Buckeye Film Breakdown. Wanted to hop on here and go a little more in depth about the 5-boom Monday that we had this week that we covered in the opening drive. Talk about those guys, maybe hint at where we think the Buckeyes might finish their portal additions, and see where we go. As always, I'm Jeremy. Opposite side of the screen, we got Coach Slate, and let's just hop right into it. Monday, 11 Warriors referred to it as pure cinema. It was a day, it was a Ryan Day masterclass. 5 new additions, and it also showed us, kind of hinted at, with the Buckeyes shifting focus. They added 5 guys on Monday: a 7th year, a senior, a red shirt junior, and 2 red shirt seniors.
Yeah.
These are grown men. You can do the Vance Marrow grown man if you want to, but these dudes are literally grown men.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's a shift in the philosophy, and I just think this is the way that it's got to be, and it's the way that you have to go. I think the Buckeyes knew that they were going to be losing some guys via the transfer portal, via the NFL draft, obviously the graduation, and we're at a point where you have to really look at: am I looking at production or am I looking at potential? And if I want to get back to the playoffs, I need guys who can come in and play right away. And right now, as you can see, with all the guys that we have going into the portal from our own roster, there are not guys that want to sit around and wait anymore. And so the Buckeyes, with those 5 players, are going after guys who have been proven players. We've got a bunch of guys who are all conference level players that we picked up. And so we're getting these guys in here, some veteran guys that can be leaders on our team. And I think it was a good day, obviously. So for all the people that said the Buckeyes didn't have a plan, we started to see the plan, be executed at a pretty high level. And we just hope that we can finish strong and that will continue, because there's definitely some holes that still need to be filled. But I think the Buckeyes are doing a good job, and we're off to a good start.
Yeah, absolutely. Hunter Welsing, we'll start with him. 7th year tight end from Northwestern. Honorable mention, all Big Ten. This is obviously to be a 7th year guy. You've had some injuries. Last year, 28 catches, 296 yards, including probably the game of his life: 4 catches, 81 yards against Michigan. Going back and watching him, he's a pretty physical dude. I watched his high school tape. He's very physical. He's not afraid to go over the middle, run some seam route type of stuff. Obviously, durability is a question.
Yeah.
And he's got okay hands. He's not like an overly athletic dude, which, I mean, outside of like top tier tight ends, a lot of tight ends are not.
Yeah.
But definitely a welcome addition. Very good blocker.
Yeah, very good blocker, and he's a reliable pass catcher, and that's the thing that you want. Like you said, he's not overly athletic, but he's more than adequate when it comes to his athleticism. You're talking about a guy who's in his 6th or 7th year, like you said. He is somebody that I'm trying to how can I phrase this? We had a guy this year at tight end, and Max Clare, who was a freak athlete, could do a lot of things, a great pass catcher. He had to develop in blocking, and by the end of the season, he had gotten so much better. But you saw the Buckeyes they didn't do a bad job. He had over 500 yards receiving, but it wasn't something that was natural to just find ways to
Right.
force feed him the ball. We are at our best when we have tight ends that are reliable pass catchers that may only get 20 catches at the end of the season, but then they go on and have productive NFL careers. And you see the Buckeyes are now filling in that tight end room with those type of guys. And now we have somebody like Nate Roberts who can be that elite pass catcher, and he can focus on being that. And so I love the fact that you're surrounding Nate with these guys who are reliable blockers, that can be the guys that you can count on in the red zone, that can catch the ball, that will be overlooked a little bit. And I think Hunter, who is an all Big Ten selection at Northwestern, is going to step in. Obviously, 7th year grown man, like you
Yeah.
said. So it's going to step in and add some veteran leadership to that room and to the offense.
You hit on something. I don't. The tight end position is such a weird position because you are in a way a hybrid lineman. You do a lot of blocking, you stay in a lot of times, you're chipping, you're running late, you're releasing late. The Buckeyes had Jeremy Rucker, who at the time was, and he still may be, the highest rated tight end that Ohio State's ever had. And we didn't use him until basically the last game of his career.
Yeah,
Then you look at Farmer Gronk, Cade Stover, who comes in and has played 6 different positions, wore 8 different jersey numbers, and stats wise has one of the best seasons in recent years of an Ohio State tight end. Now, he's out there in the league with CJ Stroud. He's their short yardage QB sneak guy. So I'm very interested to see what the plan is with the tight end room, obviously, because like you said, you're starting to get some of these elite pass catching tight ends. You
yeah,
had it with Claire, and I would have loved to have seen Max Claire used more. Julian
absolutely.
Julian Sand would have loved to have seen Max Claire in the seam.
Yeah,
Um, but good luck to Max Claire. It's a weak NFL draft class for tight ends. Him going to the draft makes total sense. He's going to go
yeah,
make himself some money
yeah. Go to Cleveland, hopefully. Pair him up
with Fannin.
with Harold Fanning.
Yeah.
That would be great. But I digress. We'll let Jake talk about that.
Yes. So the second guy, um, a guy that obviously because of position, I know you're excited about, but after watching his tape, I'm really excited about. Second team All ACC in 2024. Safety Terry Moore from Duke missed all of this season. He blew an ACL in their 24 bowl game, returning a
Hmm.
pick.
Yeah,
Um, this dude plays fast. He's physical.
yeah.
He's not afraid to hit, and he's a fantastic blitzer. Those are the things that jump out to me from the tape that I watched.
Yeah, it's versatile, man. He can do so much. He can play, in the post. He can play deep half. He can roll down and be a nickel. Like you said, he's a great blitzer. He's a good tackler. There's so much that Terry Moore can do, and so I think that's one of the most appealing things that Coach Patricia and Coach Day saw in him, and that is why they wanted to add him to the roster. Like you said, he tore his ACL in the bowl game, and so you're talking about a full year after an ACL tear. He's going to get on campus. He'll probably will be very, very, very limited in the spring because he doesn't really need to do much. And so they want him to be at full strength when the summer comes around. But this is a guy who is a plug and play starter when he gets there. Now, the Buckeyes will not say that. They'll say that he has to come in and earn everything, and rightfully so. All right. He will have to earn anything. Guys like Leroy Roker are going to push him. Leroy Roker is, regardless of what people think of his tackling, Leroy Roker is going to be a player for the Buckeyes as long as he doesn't jump in the portal like some of the guys
Right?
have been randomly doing. Uh, Leroy Roker is going to be a player for us. So there's going to definitely be some competition. But I think Terry Moore is one of those guys that is just going to make a huge impact. Great communicator, great leader. Obviously, he went to Duke, so he's super, super smart. So there's just a lot of things that you can like about him. I encourage everybody. I'm watching some film on him. Hopefully, in the next week or so, I'm going to have like a breakdown on all of the guys that we've added in the transfer portal. Try to do like a playlist, but I encourage everybody just to get on YouTube, man, and just look up some of their highlights. That you can learn a lot. Obviously, there's more that goes into it, but you can learn a little bit about each player when you watch their highlights. Read a little bit about these guys, man. These are high character guys that the Buckeyes are bringing in, and he is not an exception. He is awesome. And so go check this guy out. Shocked that he did not go to the NFL draft even after tearing his ACL. He would have been drafted. There's no doubt. I mean, he
Oh,
is
without a
that
doubt.
good of a player. And so the Buckeyes got a good one here. And so I'm glad we got him because that safety room is going to need to fill a void with Caleb Downs not being there. And so having him and Earl Little Jr. is a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who in 2024, if PFF rankings are your thing, was the second ranked safety of guys who played more than 100 snaps at a 90.1, I think it was for the season, which PFF rankings have their flaws,
Yeah.
but they're obviously objective, and you
Yep.
don't know what a guy was supposed to truly be doing. You can assume, especially for guys who are really, really good at breaking film like you and Jake, you guys do a great job of assuming, okay, we are in some sort of this coverage. He should have had a flat here, flat hook, curl, all the lingo. Uh, but to see anything that's graded at a 90, I don't care who's grading it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, that's an A. So
Yeah.
that's a win. Uh, Before we get into the big fish, probably the most intriguing of the guys on Monday. Obviously, we have said since the portal opened and even before then, the Buckeyes are going to add a depth piece quarterback.
Yeah.
You want 4 scholarship quarterbacks. Obviously, you've got Julian, you've got Tavian, and you're going to have Luke Fahey. Uh, Julian starting, that's a given. But you really want to see Tavian develop.
Yeah.
So the Buckeyes go get Justin Martin, redshirt senior, spent 3 years at UCLA, a year at Maryland, was going to compete for the Maryland job last year, but got hurt in the week 1. So he lost some time there. There's not a ton of tape on him because he didn't play a ton.
Yeah.
He's got that funky arm release, but
Yeah.
I think some of that's also because the dude's 6'5".
Yeah.
And he throws piss missiles. I mean, like, you watch him throw, and it's there. So obviously, this guy isn't coming in to compete with Julian to start.
Yeah.
He's coming to give you some veteran leadership, but I can't help but wonder because I actually saw it on X. A gentleman who I talked to more so in the memorabilia world. He asked, he's like, Ohio, why did Ohio State go Justin Martin of all the guys that are out there? And I think there's something there that they also want him to come in to help Tavian because these guys are similar builds.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there definitely could be something there that they want to help Tavian with. It's interesting. A few years ago we saw this with Tristan Gebbia, right? Like
Hmm.
we're bringing these veteran quarterbacks in who know they're really not going to play much, but they want to be developed. We don't know what their aspirations are after they graduate college. Maybe they want to be coached or want to be a coach. Maybe the best pathway to doing that is maybe I go learn from the best and I go
Yep.
learn from Coach Day and Coach Fessler. They maybe that's what they want to do. Maybe they just want to be developed and take in as much knowledge as possible. And let's say, knock on wood, something does happen to Julian and they have an opportunity to go in, and that is their shot to get to the league. We just don't know their motivations for coming. But I have so much respect for guys like this
Oh
because
yeah.
they know where they're at in their career. They have accepted where they're at in their career, and now they just want to go be a part of something great, and they want to get better. And I have the utmost respect for people that will put their ego aside and humble themselves and just want to be a part of something special. And so, shout out to him for being willing to do this. I know he knows he's coming in. He's not going to be the starter, but to just come in and compete every single day and work to get the team better, like that's a big deal, man. And so Coach Day always wants to have 4 scholarship quarterbacks. Obviously, we lost a couple walk-on quarterbacks to the portal, and then I think Brick Handler graduated this year, and so we needed to add one more. And he stepped up, and he was the guy. I was hoping Burn the Boats would come back.
Right.
He's got one more year. I was hoping Burn the Boats would come back, but I'm happy that this guy is the one that we chose because anybody who's willing to do this and kind of bet on themselves and take that next step and whatever their career aspirations are. I think that's pretty cool, man.
One thing I'll be curious to see there, we thought we were going to see it with Lincoln this year.
Yeah,
If Julian Sayin continues to struggle with the sneak, this dude's perfect
yeah,
to come in and be that guy. I
yeah,
mean, like I said, in the NFL, you're starting to see it be non-quarterbacks.
yeah,
Uh, but like the Bengals use Flacco to do it. Texans are using Stover. So, you just want those big bodied, tall, burly dudes. And this guy's big, man. This guy was an Under Armour All American. I mean,
yeah,
he's no slouch. But obviously he's hit that point in his life to where, he knows his spot. Maybe he wants to come in, audition for Ted Ginn and the Aviators since they don't have any Buckeyes on their roster right now. Um, we are going to also welcome Jake here in a minute. He's going to join us and talk all things. Um, the big fish, though, the Alabama guys, we had heard they were going in. We had heard there was interest in OSU. These guys were a package deal coming out of high school. James Smith, D tackle, Quay Russaw. Um, he's an edge, technically a linebacker. Again, though, grown men. James Smith's a senior. Russaw's a redshirt junior. Um, you look at the rankings, you look at the buzz. James Smith is considered by far to be the catch. Number one D lineman in the transfer portal as far as interior guys. He was a 5-star out of high school. He sheds blocks really well.
Yeah.
Uh, he's a very high effort guy. He's not going to wow you with athleticism. He doesn't have like that very quick first step like we talk about with a lot of guys. Um, I feel like they line him up in a lot of different ways. I don't know how much you've watched him yet, so you can explain 3 tech,
Mhm.
5 tech, that type of thing. But they definitely line him up in some different spots at Alabama.
Yeah, I'm gonna add Jake here so he can hop in on this convo too. What's up, Jake? How you
Up,
doing?
guys? What's going on?
Not much, man. Just living the dream. But yeah, so the Alabama does use him in a multitude of ways, and I think again that is one thing that Coach Patricia saw in him, and they really valued. I think they can use him as a 3 technique. I think he can bump out and be a 5 technique. I do think he can line up as a 0 technique. I don't know if that's exactly where they want to have him, but I do think he can do it. He is a very good player. He's got a great swim move. He can do some really good things for us. He can create a lot of penetration, especially when we're in those penny fronts. He can win one-on-one matchups. And I think when they watched the film, those were the things that they really enjoyed. And they were like, we got to get this guy. And so I think this is a welcome addition. Obviously, we need, as many veteran bodies in that D line room. We just lost another young guy to the portal. We lost Jarquez Carter. And so the other day to Miami, and so we need as many veteran bodies in that room as possible. And Smith really fits that mold. And obviously, coming from Alabama in the SEC, that he is a dog. You know that he has played in those tough physical games, and he's going to come in with a little bit of an edge, and he's got a lot to prove. And he's trying to improve that draft stock. And who better than to learn from than the GOAT and Coach Johnson, and then Coach Patricia as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So then with him comes Quay Russaw, number 9 edge. He's kind of looked at as the Mike Conley to the Greg Oden to give Buckeye fans something to give. But dude, this guy is athletic as heck. Um, the other thing I noticed watching his tape, he's got sneaky good hands for a defender.
Yeah.
He doesn't make an easy interception. He's making like athletic interceptions. Um, 2 things that I would use to kind of describe him though: read and react. I think if you watch his instincts, he's very very good at reading and reacting, and just sheer potential. He had some injury issues last year. Under Saban, he played a lot. And
Hmm.
then when DeBoer came in, that role kind of fluctuated. And then, you had the injury, obviously. So you didn't have as nearly as much opportunity last year. So this is another guy coming in with something to prove.
Yeah, and I think under DeBoer, when DeBoer came in, you saw a scheme change as well. You saw them go to more of an odd front, and so like he was kind of a tweener. He was an off the ball linebacker. They moved him down to edge, and so there was this. He was in that hybrid type role on the defensive line and playing linebacker as well. I think again that versatility is something that makes him very intriguing. He is what I feel like CJ Hicks could have evolved into, right? I really do. I think CJ Hicks may be a little bit of a better athlete than him, but I think he is what CJ Hicks could have turned into had he stuck around. I think Quay is a very good player. He can do a lot of good things for us. They're trying to find ways to fill that Arvell role. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if Quay is going to be able to do it at the same impact as him, but I think this is a guy who has all the potential if he can stay healthy. I think they can move him around and utilize him in a lot of different ways. And I just think getting that, SEC speed and athleticism up into Ohio State and Columbus, I think that's going to be a good move for us. And so I think Quay is ready to go. I think he's got a lot to prove too. Obviously, with the injuries that he had, he's going to prove that, hey, I should be one of these guys that should be considered um, as one of the top pass rushers, top athletes, in the country. And so I think Quay is a very, very good player, very good athlete. And I think the Buckeyes got somebody that's going to be hungry and show that he's not, the Mike Conley to Greg Oden. You know what I mean?
Right.
That he is a dog as well.
But I mean, let's be honest. Mike Conley turned
Mike.
out way better than Greg Oden.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I was gonna say, was that the proper?
Yeah.
Well,
the proper one, because Mike Conley's still playing.
Yeah,
but coming out of
good.
high school, I mean, Conley was looked at as the afterthought.
Aren't they both 5-stars though?
Oh,
I can't remember. I
think they were
5-star guys, right?
They were.
Yeah. Poor Greg Oden.
I know, man.
Right. So yeah, I mean that kind of sums up those 5 guys. Like we said, you're definitely seeing that shift, man. Production over potential. And I guess we saw a really good lesson this week too. Everybody who talks about how high school recruiting is worthless, I don't think I would go that far, because you look at like Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's never been a massive portal school, and Notre Dame is going big in the portal. Mylan Graham, who obviously is 2 hours from South Bend, they would have looked at him out of high school. But the big one's Keon Keeley, a guy who was committed to Notre Dame before he went to Alabama, sticks at Alabama 3 years. Now he's back at Notre Dame. So you still have to build those relationships because of the portal.
Yeah. Yeah. Relationships matter. And, you want to make sure that no matter where the kid goes, you want to make sure it ends on good terms because of the portal. You never know when things are going to pop back up. And so that's why some of these guys are coming back to Ohio State. Ohio State recruited them out of high school. Those relationships are extremely important. Jake, I had a question for you. Obviously you've been coming from you come from the NFL world, and you get to see the free agency and how it all shakes out in the NFL. When you see what's going on in the transfer portal, like what are your initial thoughts? Like when you see do you think it's just like an absolute insane asylum when it comes to what's going on in the transfer portal right now?
I was going to ask you guys about this kind of in the same world. Like, it's hard to explain. I feel like we've got to change our DNA as college football fans, because the model of like you bring in a kid, you see them develop and they play, and some of that is see them. Malik Hartford just committed to UCLA. Some of that DNA of like, hey, they've lost 29 guys. That is what, I don't know, of scholarship kids, 30%, maybe more. I'm just, it's going to be tricky. It obviously is. It's still Ohio State, and it'll always work. They'll find a way. But I am kind of interested in living in the world Indiana lives in, because Indiana fans kind of like, there's never been another way, right? Like there's just like, we've lost, but this way we found really works here, and that's great. And there's some other schools that are obviously at least up to this point this year, across the other years that the transfer portal was open, have been very active, right? But I'm curious, like, because you're talking through a lot of these guys, and to the credit of both of you, and why we're doing this is you guys pay way better attention to high school recruiting. I just like the Ohio State fan. It was always cool to me to see a kid commit, and like when they committed, you're like, this is cool, man. Yeah. Like we can get really excited about his senior year, or at what point he's in his senior year, he's going to come to Ohio State. And you almost form a little family like bond with these youngsters who come to the university, and you watch them develop, you watch them grow. And obviously this is going to be a little strange. I remember going to Doug Lamarie's house, and we did a rewatch of the 06 Ohio State Michigan game of century, whatever. And how many of those kids were from Ohio on that team? And that part of it changed. Urban took them national. They got more kids from different locations. So you lost a little bit of that fiber of like Midwest kids, Ohio kids. Tressel built the wall. They're coming here, and we're going to win that way. And that's fine. That's no different. It's not that different. Obviously, you're going out and you're recruiting Texas and California and Florida more specifically. But it is, going to be interesting to track how, like our parents are Ohio State. How do they feel about that? Like, how do they feel about like they're watching games, and even like somewhat committed Ohio State fans are like, who's that at safety? I've never heard of that guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's just going to be some of that you have to change your perception of the way the college football world works. And it's hard because while you were talking there, Slade, I was kind of looking at like, all right, they got 29 out, they got 11 in. What's the depth chart look like? And every place I'm going to that's doing a depth chart, I'm like, that's pretty bare. Like it doesn't, and they got work to do. There's still time to do some things in the portal here, but like, as far as like the known depth that we've grown accustomed to of like knowing names. Oh, I remember when he committed. That's cool. I remember using that guy. Some of that stuff is leaving. And I'm not saying they're going to be worse. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
Big names are sticking, but it's going to be different. It's just going to be a different experience. Obviously, the NFL, like you're talking about there, is wired that way forever. They have top 30 visits in the NFL where guys will, hey, man, we have no chance of drafting this guy, but we want to have him in so that if he hits free agency in 4 years, he knows about how the Browns operate. He knows about how, here what we do here at Baltimore, what our facilities. There's a level of comfort there. You try to start those relationships and build it for later on if you need to, because, similar stuff there you're talking about with, when you recruit a kid, you want it to end well because you never know when they're going to leave.
Yep.
I'm not against it. I'm not against pro player. I just feel like it is a DNA shift that I wonder how devoted it continues to make the crazy college football fans.
Yeah.
And some of that, like when you watch, like, I don't know, when I was young, I was talking about Ted Ginn a minute ago, it's like those guys are like, as a kid, watch Ted Ginn for years. And like those guys like bleed scarlet and gray. Like there's just some of that stuff where, is it all going to be the same? And we're seeing the shifting world of like, conferences and TV contracts, and they're messing with a lot of the fiber of what has made this stuff so special for so long. And maybe they figure out a way to navigate, putting a cap on transfer and number of times you can transfer and some stuff like that, I think would probably help the sport. But I don't know. I don't even know if I'm answering your question, Slade, but it is like, I'm very interested in tracking, what this looks like in 5 years. How do we feel about Ohio State in 5 years, or just college football in 5 years? That stuff's fascinating to me because, I'm totally with the what's the Billy Beans Moneyball adapt or die. Like you got Ohio State can't watch what Indiana's doing, can't watch what Miami's doing, and not feel like you can be like, you can't be 4 years late like Dabo's doing. Like you can't do that. But it is just like, what's it going to feel like? What's it going to be like? Is it still the same? Is it still our honor? Is it, can these guys give you the alma mater? Like, you know what I mean? That's just like part of what makes the NFL so different from college, was you felt like they cared about the uniform, the colors, the traditions as much as you do in college. And I'm not here to say guys can't figure that out when they get to places and all this other, and the other, but it's rental stuff here. It's rentals for everybody. And that just is like, I'll be curious, man, what it looks like. College football is in a very weird spot, and I'm fascinated with what it looks like in 5 years. I really am.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that, man. I think, and I listened to Ross Bjork talk a little bit today in his interview, and a couple of the things that got brought up, I'm sure we'll have an opening drive or something on. I don't know. We'll probably dive into that conversation that he had.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that he brought up, and this is where I differ from a lot of people in Buckeye Nation. I understand that we want to be top 5 roster. I want to be top 5 roster. I want to win natties every single year. That is without question. I am so pissed off that we lost to Miami. I am extremely frustrated. I want the Buckeyes to be extremely aggressive in the portal all the time. I want us to get the best players. I want us to spend big. I want us to get the Jeremiah Smiths every single year. But what I don't want us to do is to go down this rabbit hole of spending so much money every single year that when they do finally put parameters on this, which it will happen, now we cannot recover from it. Now we
Yeah.
see 2, 3, 4 years of not so good football because our program is in shambles because we have just gone so far in making sure that we were spending $80 million to keep our roster as a top, whatever program in the country. I don't want to see us go down that road. Like some programs I think will go. And so I think Ross Bjork gets a bad rep for a lot of the things, and I don't necessarily agree with everything that he's doing, but I think there needs to be within this chaos, I think there needs to be some sort of parameters that needs to be in place. And also, when they talk about that cap, Ohio State is still over the cap. Like their roster is still over what that revenue sharing cap and all that stuff is supposed to be. Like it's still well over that. And that's what people need to understand. And so I think in this world of free agency in college football, I think they have to understand like in order for Ohio State to continue to function at a high level, there needs to be structure. It just cannot be, you know, the wild, wild west within the woody. Like there has to be structure. And if there's not, then they won't
Yeah.
continue to be at the level that they're at.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it needs regulated more than it is now. Obviously, the NCAA is not a proactive organization. They are extremely reactive, and it has bit them in the butt in this situation.
I feel like they don't even know how to navigate like any
Right.
of this. They're like the rug has been pulled out from them by court systems. Like I feel like they feel powerless.
I mean, honestly, the first step, and the diehard college football people and diehard college football enthusiasts are going to hate this. The first step is to finally word it that these guys are employees, because now you can do a collective bargaining agreement. I want obviously the schools need protections, but the players also need protections. I talked about it in one of the episodes last week. To represent a college athlete, you don't have to be registered, certified, or anything. It could be, the homeless guy on the corner of Lane and High meets one of the guys coming out of the B-dubs one night, and he could be his agent. It's opening so many bad doors. You see it with Ty Simpson, for example. Declares for the draft. Schools are still offering him $4.5 million. Miami says, "Screw that. We're going to offer you $6.5." Like the schools trying to talk these kids out of going to chase their dreams because they can pay them now.
Does Miami know the salary scale of the NFL? I'm kind of curious about that. If the kid's getting first round buzz, it's like $8.5 million guaranteed signing bonus for the 32nd pick in the draft. Like if he's getting first round feedback from the advisory board, and like even if he slips, because this is again the NFL world more than college, but like there was a whole thing last year about guaranteed contracts for second round picks. If you recall, the Browns didn't sign Judkins; he was the last one, largely because of some other stuff. But there was a ton of names late into the run up to training camp because it started with Carson Schlesinger, who got a guarantee. Well, it started actually with the player selected before him, or the first contract signed, which was like Jalen Noel, I think. Iowa State kid at Houston. Got a guaranteed deal. So like even second round picks are getting guaranteed money. And like there's $8.5 million in a signing bonus on top of there's like 16 in guarantees. It's like he's not going to take that. Like if you want Ty Simpson to stay, you got to offer him like $14 million for the year. That's essentially what you have to do. So I don't know. It just is like I've seen some people bring that up, and I'm not saying you are at all, Jeremy, wrong or they're wrong or anything. I just am like, he's not going to stay. If he's getting first round feedback, he's not going to go back for $4 million or $6 million. That's not, I guess you could find some kid who's love of the game type in college, but I don't know.
Well, it's a weak quarterback class. So yeah, I mean, it makes no sense for Ty Simpson to even entertain that, because the other piece to the puzzle, you are a year closer to that second deal. And we all know in the NFL, the second contract is the contract. So, at the end of the day, if Miami could develop a quarterback, they wouldn't have to be playing that game. And that's the other thing I would like to see. The NFL, obviously, especially with the rookies, you have structured contracts based on years. I don't, obviously, with only 4 years of athletic eligibility, you can't handcuff a kid that much. But I would like to see 2-year deals, because obviously these kids are signing enforceable contracts. You've
Yeah.
had 9 kids from Ohio State's freshman class last year leave. Is it because you don't want to compete? Who knows? Are you being pushed out? Who knows? But if you do 2-year deals, you're holding the player and the school to some sort of standard to where the school gets and that's the other piece to the money side of NIL. That's why Oregon, Texas Tech, and I think the more Mark Cuban gets involved, Indiana, are going to have essentially unlimitless money because you have in Michigan, you have a billionaire donor. Joe Schmo, let's say Reichert or Schottenstein, any of these guys in Columbus, you're getting really no ROI on the money that you're putting into NIL. So at what point do you say I'm done with it because there's nothing there?
It's starting to turn into baseball at that point, really. I mean, that's the problem baseball's facing.
Yeah.
Same. It's not the same exactly, but it's the same as who's willing to spend and who's not willing to spend. And it just is a matter of whether you have that magic donor or not. Did you guys talk about the red shirt rule that just dropped today too?
Uh-uh.
I don't know if you did or not.
The proposition for the 9-game red shirt.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Just say kids get 5 years then.
Yeah.
You sit out Grambling State, Arkansas State, you can sit out Kent State, and then you can play the whole year.
Yeah.
It's madness, man.
I mean,
What
I understand they're trying to alleviate guys sitting out early. But go 5 or even go 6. But I think 6 should be the cap. And I don't look for that to pass for that reason. I think it may get, edited to 6 at some point. But yet they didn't even visit the calendar conversation today. That's the wild part about these meetings.
If you want to put it at like the rule in place, then I'm fine with it. But like, you say that you can't play. You got 5 years. Figure out how you want to play 5 years.
Yeah.
And you get 5 years. Figure it out. And it's like, so we can stop having these 24-year-old kids in college playing ball who should be on LinkedIn, right? Like, there's some of that in play. I could get down with that 5 years and that's it. But because then you eliminate some of the weird circumstances. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like where you're going from 4 to 9. Like who thought that?
Yeah,
that's a good. I mean, that's just coaches and stuff like trying to get aggressive and get their guys. And I get it. Everyone wants to take an inch, you take a mile. I get it.
And 5 years pretty much ensures a kid's going to get his degree when he leaves if he stays all 5.
Yeah.
That way you don't have Diego Pavia out here instead of trying to come play for the Ohio Legends, trying to play at Vanderbilt. As far as to kind of wrap up the portal stuff, though, obviously Ohio State's still doing some portal shopping. I think Slate's got a pretty good list of potential positions that he thinks we might add. So let's hear those before we wrap up.
Yeah, so I definitely think they're looking at the running back room. I think they want to add a CJ Donaldson type. They want to add a bigger body to that room. So be on the lookout for that. There are a couple names that are floating around out there. I do think they want to add one more receiver. I do think that is something that is going to be very, very, very important that they add another receiver. Cornerback room, they definitely want to add a depth piece. Everything that we've been hearing and reading is definitely want to add a corner to that room. I do think offensive line wise, they are set. I don't think they want to add to that room. I think they're very happy with the depth that they have. Obviously, everybody saw Jordan Seaton go into the portal, so everybody jumped at that, like, oh, pay him. I don't think that's going to be something that they do. Defensive tackle is one that, there are some guys from Oregon that I do think that the Buckeyes would definitely be interested, some bigger bodies that could fill that zero technique nose. It's always worth adding somebody to that room. I will just say that. So be on the lookout for those. But I definitely think receiver and running back, those are like the more eminent ones that I think could happen very soon. And then obviously kicker. We are going to have a kicker on our roster. Do not freak out about that. It is going to happen. We will have a kicker. Okay. So it will happen. They've got a plan. There will be a kicker on our roster.
You mean they're not
I
going to
did
make
see
Joe
some stuff
McGuire?
about this Christian Moss at Kennesaw.
Yep.
Is the name they've grown connected to, wide receiver tonight.
Yep.
Some of the bigger names are probably they're gone at this point, but they're supplementing at this spot, and the interesting question about wide receiver will be 2027. I think we can agree on that. That's where they're going to have to get real aggressive to solve some stuff, but they'll be fine this year.
No doubt about it.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, we will finish there. As always, we appreciate you guys tapping in. Check out Buckeye Film Breakdown for all the content we've posted this week. And as things continue to pop up, we will keep you in the loop because we still have a couple draft declarations. We still have 3 more days of portal issues, and we will keep you guys in the loop.